Welcome to the Open House Podcast where women talk real estate. I'm Steph Douglas.
And I'm Christina Moderis.
We're back.
We are. Wow, that took us a while.
Well, yes, it's been a while, but that was a pretty smooth, relatively to other times. You know, it's taken us a lot longer
to get set up. That's true, but
yes.
Okay, so we are recording our video as well. So if you're listening to us, you could also watch us. Well, hopefully this goes well. We'll see.
We're also in a winter storm, and there's power outages and internet outages, so we're lucky to even be here. But hopefully we'll be fine.
Yes, hopefully everything will be good. Either way, we'll have the audio for you, and if the video doesn't work this time, another time we'll have the audio or the video.
It's new for us. We're also recording on our phones, so we can have little clippies for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at us. How's it going? I really haven't talked to you in a minute.
I know. This is a very genuine catch up. We have 3 people staying with 3 different parties, so 7 people total, because they're without power, and it's so frustrating. And they won't have power probably until Friday, is what I've heard.
Oh my gosh, that's so. I mean, luckily, the only person I know who doesn't have power is Holly, who works for us. And
yes,
I just texted her to see if she wants to stay at our sneaky duplex because she still doesn't have power. I don't think so. We will see.
That's really sweet. That's a great idea. I mean, even if they wanted to go to the office, I'm sure she doesn't want to drive, but I think the roads are a little bit better today.
Yeah, my friend said that like she went to the gym yesterday, like a crazy person. She's also pregnant, I don't know. But she was like, people are just hanging out there because they don't have power. So they're just like hanging out at the gym. They're like, guess I'll just work out kind of leisurely.
Yeah, it's too cold. Luckily, it's 32. I mean, it hasn't gotten much colder than 32, like 30, 32. But last time this happened, it got down to like 15. And it was genuinely dangerous.
It was, honestly, I've never seen a more like apocalyptic world. Like people were going crazy. It was insane.
Yeah. Yes. And this time is a lot less, but like, why can't we get through a February? I mean, we can't get through anything. We had burst pipes in mid-January when it froze. Like, we're just not prepared for this. And the weather's just like not doing what we thought it would do historically.
No, that's very true. But let's move on from that. It's depressing.
It's so depressing. It sucks.
How was your recent trip? You just want a trip.
Yes, I went to Utah, where they just like freeze all the time and it's totally fine. They figured it out, but it was lovely. I mean, Utah, we went to Sundance. That was really cool. I just thought that Sundance was always so inaccessible, and we ended up being there. It was $25 each for a ticket to a movie, and so we popped in. It was really cool, and so we want to make that a habit. We want to keep on doing that. Alan's like really into movies, as some of you know. So
yes, because you have family there, so you were visiting family, right? And then you just like happened to be like, oh, we're here during Sundance, and then you just bought tickets. So.
It was a coincidence. Yeah, I know. Seriously, I was born in Utah. From Utah, I lived my first 10 years there. So yeah, I think Utah is a generally underrated state, and it's fun to go back there.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
How was yours? You just came on a trip too.
Yeah, I went to Florida, to our beach house. Me and my sister bought a beach house. There, and it was her birthday, so many January birthdays, and this was the last January birthday of the month, and it was so fun. We just hung out, we went paddle boarding, we played a lot of Settlers of Catan, and we tried to go to this gay bar that ended up not being a gay bar. It was like really actually kind of scary. It was like an 18 an over bar, and I was like, I don't feel safe here. This is not there's a lot of like scary straight 18-year-old men here that it was weird. So yeah, and then we went to a strip club. So just
your birthday for her.
Yeah.
It's funny because you're in such a cool part of Florida, but it's still Florida.
It's
right?
still Florida.
No shade. That was it.
No shade. Honestly, my sister was like, I love Florida. Like, it's my favorite, which is funny. She's like such a I don't know,
She's so
fast.
hip.
She's
She's
hip,
yeah.
trendy, whatever, and she's like, "I love Florida so much," and I'm like, "Oof." I mean,
Yes.
I like parts of it. I like Miami. I like this little house we have here, but anyway, so it was funny, but
It's such an interesting state. Speaking of bad
really is.
reputations, I mean, I get it, but Texas has a bad rep too. I mean, we're all just transcending our reputations.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true.
But it
Um,
looked really fun. I mean, was it too cold?
it was really cold in the first few days, but then it got, then it was like warm. So it was all good. And
Good.
we did our cleaner. Oh my gosh. The day we got there, so we Airbnb this out when we're not there. And our cleaner just quit. She was like, I am doing residential now. I'm not doing like short term. Here's a list of people
Oh.
and I was like, oh my gosh. And my sister gets there and the door is just like wide open. Like it was, she also got there and there was like a tornado watch and she was there by herself and she was like, oh my God. So anyway, while we were there, we were like going to do, get ready for the next busy season. And instead we just like scrambled and like looked for a cleaner, which, actually posted in this Facebook group that I'm in and it, worked out actually really well.
Yeah,
Someone
you found someone?
I found someone, she seems really cool. She's like, we'll see. I mean, she hasn't said it yet. But we honestly we needed to fire this cleaner for a while because she was good, I would say 75% of the time, but then there would be like if something happened, she never took ownership. She would be like, it wasn't us. And we were like, okay, but like it's never you. Like it's I mean, even it's me sometimes too. Like it's always we can't, it's sometimes it's our
Yeah.
fault.
We've
So
been talking about this, but like it's the same thing. The short-term rental game is really hard.
it's
It's a
really
really
hard.
hard
But
business.
I will say, out of the short-term rental properties I have, the Florida house is the only one I manage myself, and it is the easiest, which is saying something. Like to
That's
me,
amazing. Far away.
it's easy in the sense that I'm keeping. So when you hire a short-term rental management company, they take 30%. It's even if they're like, we take 20%, it's like, no, it ends up being 30% or even
At
more
least.
at
Yes.
least. And it is, I also sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? Because they still involve you a lot. Like, at least that's what I've encountered. And I don't know. I've been thinking, and I don't know if you've been thinking about this too, Steph, but like, I'm like, maybe I should try to manage it because if you get a really good cleaner, they really do a lot. And I'd rather pay a cleaner a little bit more that instead of giving away like 30 to 40% of my income and then still having to like get notified.
Do a lot. Yeah.
Right. Cause like our Florida house, like there is still things that happen. Like where someone installed an ice maker wrong and it leaked everywhere and we're gonna have to like pull up the floors and stuff. But like I a clean like I, I still that's not the bigger issue for me is like when I have to get involved when I'm paying 40%. I'm like, don't
Yeah.
involve me if I have to hear from a property manager like 3 times a month. I, I don't want it. That's not worth it to me.
Right. I mean, it's that's the balance of like when you want it to be passive and then it actually isn't passive. You're paying for it to not be passive,
hmm
but then you have to do a lot of work actually. It's really frustrating. And it's like, especially as people who are as investors and like we're trying to get a return on our investment
Right.
and it's interfering with that. It's so frustrating. I mean, yeah, it's a struggle. So
hmm
I would say like anyone else who's considering getting into this game or already in it, try managing yourself first. I
Yes.
always recommend that, especially long term. I mean,
Oh my
especially,
gosh. Yeah.
but really it's worth it to try it. And then if it doesn't work out, vet people and, hire, but like or like there's different levels like we're talking about.
hmm
Hire a really good cleaner.
Honestly, so when you say especially long term, I don't disagree, but I am like I've only so when I guess it was in San Antonio, so it's different, but I had a long term manager in San Antonio and it was amazing. He like I only paid 10%?
Yeah, probably
10%?
that's standard.
10% and I forgot I had a property, which, I don't know. It was good and bad, but he would just be like, "Oh, the fence is broken. Here's a quote for like $150. Do you want us to fix it? And I'd be like, good to go. And then he would just do it.
Yeah.
And if
It's so good.
anything happened, it was like the best. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've had better experience with that, but it was only one time. So I can only speak to that for this.
Your team is so important. It's so important. And
Yes.
really for our long-term tenants here in Austin, I mean, it's easy for us to go there if we need to.
Hmm.
Alan kind of handles communication, and he's just really straightforward and unemotional. So it's really nice. I mean, our long-term properties here are my favorite, but that
Hmm.
might be because I have to handle the short-term stuff and it
Mm.
sucks.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
fair.
like, we're losing steam on short term. It's still a good strategy, but like I think we've just had some frustrations recently.
Yes, for sure. And we can maybe we'll that's a whole other episode we can talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Agree.
I guess should we get into what we're talking about today? Oh wait,
Let
before I do that, I want to like invite everyone to our next community meetup, which will be February 28th. So it's going to be at Meanwhile Brewery from 6 to 8 p.m. And we do this every single month. It's a chance for you to come and hang out. We get you a drink, and you can talk with us. So we invite everyone in our community. And that means, if you follow us, if you listen to our podcast, if you follow us on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, or if you bought a house with us, or you're in our women investor group, you can come hang out. And it's a great opportunity to talk to other people who are also like in real estate and, own a home or want to own a home or own investment properties. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Christine and I really attribute our success in real estate to our community. Like that's the reason
Yes.
why we've been able to do anything because it's been normalized. So you go to these meetups and people are talking about the second home they're buying or they're talking about the renovation they're doing. Like it's not some crazy thing to do, but it's
Hmm.
actually normal. So when you normalize something, it's easier. And so join us. We would love to see you.
And it can just take one person. Like honestly, like when I got into real estate, I was like, this is cool. Like I started researching and then I found Steph and literally from there, like me and her collaborated on a few properties and then like I talked with my sister. So it really like that just meeting one person who was also like, this is cool. Like I can do this was, you know, the best thing that I could have ever done. Just meeting
Yeah.
that one person. That's all it takes.
Yes, to skyrocket. And if you're interested even remotely, I mean, you're listening to this, you're in our community, so please come.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump in.
Yes. Okay. So we always talk about partnerships and we're always like, just do it. It's awesome. Or at least that's like what people probably think. But we do want to share sometimes when you partner with people, it doesn't always go according to plan. Um, Steph and I never actually bought with a significant other until like very recently. We'd always bought with friends or family. Um, but yeah, so this is about buying a house, a story about someone who bought a house with their boyfriend and it turned out to be a disaster. And Steph, I guess you start us off with a background because you actually know more about this than I do.
Yeah, so this was when Christine and I, when we started our company, we were both realtors and we were helping clients. And so I helped this couple buy a house. It seemed very normal. They were on track. They'd been dating for 3 years. It was something that happens pretty regularly, right? We have couples that potentially aren't married yet, but they're on that track. Maybe they're going to get engaged soon. They've even potentially mentioned that.
Mhm.
And so I helped them buy a house. There was no red flags. It was fine. Recently, the woman in this couple reached out and she said, "Hey, I have a story for you. And I want open house community to know about this because I want them to be warned." And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, perfect. We need to make sure that everybody is protected. And so we met up and she proceeded to tell me this story about, how she was not protected and she got into this wild situation with her ex-boyfriend at the time, or ex-boyfriend now.
I think a lot of people partner with they think buying a house with their boyfriend or their husband is actually a safer bet than buying with a friend, but I think they like skip over like when you're buying a house with a friend, I feel like you're more like concerned of what if something goes wrong, and you don't necessarily think about that as much if it's like your significant other.
Yes, that's what
Um,
happened. I
right?
mean, when especially when people are so worried if they're doing it with a friend and they're more likely to get a operating agreement. They're more likely to like protect themselves because they feel like it's such a risk.
Mhm.
But when you're buying with a significant other, it's not as considered.
Yeah. So what did they end up buying? So like how long were they dating before that they do you know how long till
Yes.
they
So
bought
they
this
were dating
house?
for 3 years before they bought this
Okay.
house. And they had lived together before.
Okay, so they were living
So,
together and then wanted to buy a house, and they planned to live in this new house they were buying.
yes.
Okay.
And I think they both I'm pretty sure either it was implied or like they were like, yeah, we're gonna, in the next couple of years we're gonna get married. So they were living
Okay.
together before in a house actually that he had bought, but she was there. I helped him buy that house too. So I
Wait,
helped
you
him
helped
buy.
him buy?
Yes, with her. She was very much involved in the process of helping of him buying that first house.
Mm.
And then they reached back out together and they said, "Hey, we're ready to do this together. We want to sell the house that he bought and buy a new house together."
Did you help them sell it?
Yes, I helped them
Okay.
sell it and then I helped them buy again. So it was like I had gone through essentially three transactions with this couple.
Oh my
So
gosh.
sweet, so
Yeah.
nice,
Were there any red flags, or were they like,
0. They both worked
wow.
at a tech company together. I mean, they were yeah, both so nice. Like there was we get to witness a lot as realtors, and me and Christina
Mhm.
aren't realtors anymore, but
Yeah.
when
Well,
we
now we have
were
a team of realtors, which I feel like we need to say more in the
oh
beginning.
yes,
We
I
have a
know.
team
We
in, or a brokerage in Austin, whatever.
Yes,
We'll get
yes,
this done one
yes.
day.
One day.
We just come
So
here to
we yeah.
chat.
Yeah, I know it's just a hangout pod. No, but so we started this company as realtors and then we transitioned out of that role so that we can actually run the company and we hired 4 realtors to be our team and they're incredible. But we did this job at one point, which is the only reason that we can like effectively manage this company because we know the struggles. But
Yes.
there's also like I mean, we have horror stories about being privy to some like really brutal couple fights.
Yes. People who are married, I mean, I've even seen like someone, like I remember seeing a couple, like the girl was buying the house and the boyfriend was there, and he was just like, they'd been dating for like 7 months and he had so many opinions. I wanted to be like, shh, hey, this is not your house. You're not buying this.
Yes.
Like, shh, quiet.
Yes.
So, but you just
Yes.
have to be, you don't know the intricacies of everyone's relationship. So you're just like there, you're kind of like guiding as you're really a therapist when you're
Yeah.
helping a couple buy a house. So,
Yes.
but anyway, so this couple was seemingly like on board with everything.
Yes, they were both so easygoing, and it even at one point, like the builder wasn't treating them right, and they were both like, "It's okay," and I was like, "No, we're getting," I was like, really, they were just so sweet, so easygoing,
Do you
and
remember
so
them talking about like how they were, if they were going to buy this house when they weren't married yet, how they were going to like divide it up or
structure,
like structure
yeah.
it? Yeah.
So, since he had bought before and he made quite a bit from the house that he sold, he brought 60% of the down payment and she brought 40. So it wasn't
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't wild. But they definitely they didn't have a operating agreement. They had,
Okay.
they just brought this, but they bought it together. They were both on the loan, both on
Okay,
the
good.
deed.
Okay. That helped them, because sometimes you can buy a house where, like, yeah, actually with me and Eric, like I was on the loan. He brought half the cash, I brought half the cash. He's on the deed but not on the loan. So I don't know how.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
Yes.
"Uh-oh, we're also
Yeah.
not married. Even maybe after hearing this story we'll um yeah, I
Yes,
definitely need to do
draft something up
that."
because we definitely have operating agreements with each other. We have operating agreements with the
Mhm.
friends we've bought or the family members we've bought. But
Yes.
really it does like even for us, it's a blind spot and you
Mhm.
don't want it's like a prenup. You don't want to think about the end of the relationship. That
Right,
sucks.
right. And I do have a will. Like I have a will, so I know, but I forgot to update my will, and I would have to be like, I think have this person owns half of this. I don't even I
Yeah.
need to ask my attorney like how that works. So Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to
It's a
know.
it's like you don't want to think about the end of a relationship, you don't want to think about your death. Like it's not fun, but this horror story is here to help you to get there because so they were both on the loan, both on the deed, and that still created such a nightmare for her, for them both, honestly. So at one point, they and I didn't hear about this until a year after this was all finished. But they were living in the house. They'd only been living in the house for like 5 or 6 months when this happened.
Oh my gosh.
Um, I know it's like it's wild, but he out of the blue broke up with her and said, "I want to keep the house. You need to find a place to live." And obviously in 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 like it's there's two sides to every story.
Right,
I
right.
heard the story from her, and so we're taking everything with a grain of salt. We're not jumping to any conclusions, but what ended up happening is she moved out and he wanted to keep the house,
Hmm.
both on the loan, both on the deed. And so she assumed, okay, that's fine. You need to refinance and get my name off the loan and off the
Mhm.
deed and just give me 50% of the equity.
Right.
Seemingly straightforward, right? And that's like what we assume would
Yes.
happen.
Except if they got, like, an interest rate of, like, 2%, now it's at, like, 5 or
Yes.
6%. Like, so it kinda makes things complicated if you didn't set it up before,
Yes.
because, I mean, it's hard to not get your emotions involved. Sometimes you'd be like, "Okay, well, you pay the mortgage, maybe we'll stay." I don't know. It just, like, it depends, but that is very straightforward if it makes sense for both parties. It makes sense for her, but
Yes.
maybe he's like, "I don't wanna do that right now." Yeah, so I could see how that could get complicated.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest piece is like the emotions and being hurt and feeling mad. And when you feel mad, you're not thinking straight and you're not letting it be straightforward. So
Mhm.
so she said, "Okay, we'll just do that." And he said, no. She got a lawyer is what happened. She got a lawyer and he was really upset that she involved a
Mm,
lawyer, but really, I mean, when it
that's
comes to
smart.
yeah, matters of finances and real estate, it's smart to just consult someone and say how can we separate this in, a legal way
Yeah.
and make sure that everyone's protected.
I guess I could see the only thing is, like, sometimes when you get a lawyer involved, it depends on the lawyer, but, like, the lawyer represents you and not the other side, so they're obviously trying to get you whatever, like, they can.
Yes.
If you can, like, make an agreement outside of a lawyer, that maybe is ideal, but if you can't, bringing in a lawyer is the only
Right.
option.
And in the most ideal situation, yeah, you do it outside of lawyers, or you would both go to a lawyer and be like, "Hey, can you help us separate this legally?" And that
Right.
probably, that might, but in the case of like a breakup, it's really hard to do that. And like I've
Yeah.
had breakups where I don't even want to see them on move out day of our lease.
Yeah.
And so like I say, you get your stuff and I'll get at this time and I'll get my stuff at this time. Like it's
Yeah.
really hard.
Especially in the beginning, maybe, like, months later or even a year, you're like, "Okay, we can come back and talk," but, like, right
Yes.
after, especially in that situation, no.
So raw. I know,
Yeah.
I know. So she got a lawyer and she was the one that was broken up with. She was the one that was asked to leave the house. And so I mean, it's very understandable and
Yeah.
being, so she did and he got upset and he hired a lawyer as well and said,
Mm,
"We're going to drag this out as long as we can." And that is
mhm.
a really tough it's a tough legal
He said that? He was
process.
like, "I'm gonna make your like, essentially, like, this is gonna be a hell for you."
And the last time they spoke was like they only spoke through lawyers. And so yeah, basically
Mm,
his lawyer when you submit something like saying, "Here, this is what my demands are," there's a time limit and like you can push it to the end of that time limit and increase legal fees
mm.
throughout that process. So every time they went back and forth and the legal process is so wild. I mean, we're lucky to be living in America where there for some reasons, but like it's a really complicated system and you have to pay so much money.
Yeah, and how did that work out? So if she owned 40% and he owned 60, I mean, also, yeah, him just being like, "Move out, I'm gonna live here," like, how did that
Yeah.
work?
So the options were to obviously figure out an equity split or for them to sell and then figure out an equity split there. But what she said, okay, I know I only brought 40% of the down payment, but I'll take that back and then we split 50% of the equity otherwise, because otherwise
Mhm.
we did the same stuff, which makes
Mhm.
sense. He said at the very last day of the time period, he said, I disagree with that. I'll give you 1/8 of the equity. And so that was basically the
Sir,
counter.
you did this.
Sure.
You did this. Why? Like, if
That's
it were me, I'd be like, "Let's just sell this freaking house. I don't wanna ever see it again." Like,
right?
doesn't matter that if we lost money, it's, like, not worth it. At the end of the day, you're really splitting what? Even if it's, like, $20,000. I'm like, "Guys, is it
Yes.
worth this emotional trauma that you are like, that he's putting them through?" It's just not worth it. I
On
don't
both
know.
sides too, right?
Yeah.
And it's also really hard when you're dragging this out. It's hard to put that behind you and move on because you're having to revisit it and you're having to think about it still. And so I just feel like on both sides, it's a struggle. So they went back and forth for a year, a whole
No.
year. They both had to revisit the situation for a whole year. And while I did get the story from one side, like, and we're both women, and so we it's easy to be
Right.
like, but for both parties, this is so awful.
It is awful. And so who was he living in the house the whole time and he was paying the mortgage, or who was paying the mortgage?
Yes, she moved out, he was paying the mortgage, and yeah, this was not a cheap house. This is a
Mm.
$1,000,000 home.
Oh god.
So that it makes it even tougher,
When they bought
but
it
yes,
or because of equity?
when they bought it, it was $1,000,000, and so
Mm.
it was worth more, but like you said, interest rates had risen, and so a year after this breakup and a
Mm.
year after she moved out, they finally came to an agreement, and he had to refinance and double his rate. So this did not work out in his favor. Double his rate on a
Oh.
$1,000,000 loan, which means your payment is what? Twice? 1.5 to 2 times as much as it was before.
Oh, wow, that's really hard. I don't know why, yeah, he didn't just sell it, but, you're not, I don't know, maybe it was a great house. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not thinking straight when you're in this
Yes.
mindset, but
Yes, exactly. That's why operating agreement just before, like, talking through this beforehand is so important. But she did end up getting her equity.
okay.
She I don't think that she got a full 50%, but she did get she got enough, like definitely not 1/8. And she finally got her payout. He had to refinance. They still have not spoken to this day, which again, that's another thing. It's just like, this person was important and was a big part of your life. And
For
it had
3
to end in
years.
this messy, awful way. And then I mean, everybody lost in this situation. She did get paid out, but
Did
it's not.
did she get how did she get paid out? Did he pay her, or did they do a cash out refinance, or what did they do?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, good question. He had to do a cash out refinance and pay her through the title company. So it was all done through escrow essentially. So he didn't have to like do a personal transfer. It was like he did a cash out refinance to
And
cash in on his equity.
what that means is, the bank appraises your house, and then hopefully it has to be, over what you bought it for by, is it 20%?
Yeah, so you can cash out up to 80% of the value of your
Yes.
house. So
Yes.
you're hoping that you owe less than 80%, which they did.
Yes.
They had put 20% down.
Okay, good. Okay. So essentially he didn't have to take any of his cash personally and give it back to her. He just took it from the equity of the house and paid her out
Yes.
that way.
Yes.
But it's expensive still, like it can be, especially
Yeah.
when you're doing that. So when you're doing cash out refinance, so if they bought this house at like a 3% interest rate, when you do a cash out refi, you have to use whatever rate uh are now. Like, if you have to refinance, get a different rate. So essentially he
Yeah.
probably got like a 6% rate, and he probably
Yes.
had like a 3% rate.
Right.
So, and then he had to give money, like give equity money, and so like
Yeah.
he doesn't have as much equity in that house anymore. It's, I mean, not ideal, but there's
Not
different ways to
ideal.
do it, right? Like, I know, when you're buying out a partner, we were talking about this before, of like there's different ways to do it. You can also, if you don't want to do a cash out refi, you can work out like some sort of, you pay them monthly until they, you figure out, you do an appraisal, figure out how much the house is worth, then you start paying them monthly. So there's different
Yes.
ways to do it, where you
Yes.
don't have to do a cash out refi.
And the reason that it had to come to this cash out refinance point is because she was on the loan. And so,
Mm,
like, if she was just on the deed, it's easy to get off the deed, but the
ugh,
loan, like, she was on the hook for that, you know? So when you go through the legal system, she was like, I'm not keeping my name attached to you or this loan that I don't have. And so he had to essentially do this,
mhm.
which is why it's important to think about the structure at the beginning, like really,
Yeah.
really think about it and then act accordingly. Yeah,
Mhm.
because he had to. It's also when you do a cash out refinance, your rate is higher than if you were to just buy a house.
Oh, yeah, so his rate was probably like 6.5 or 7.
Yeah.
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 Huh.
So, yeah,
That
it did not work out.
no, I mean, did she in the end, did she get, like, a good amount of money? I mean, not that that
Yes.
matters. Like, it
She did.
does,
She
but
ended up getting yeah.
yeah.
She just worked with someone on her team to buy another house by herself, which is like it's amazing. It's a really good outcome for her. And yeah, so she had the down payment. She was able to get into something that she loved,
Good.
but not without struggle for a whole year. So
Right.
happy ending for her, less happy ending for him. But I mean, he got the house and he got what he wanted. And
Mhm.
so I think all to say, like no one came out on top or for the better with not having thought this through before they did this.
Right, and we do have so many resources on how to get started if you're trying. So we have a free mini course, which is just like a short, like 3-part video series, and it's like I think it's like how to buy a house with friends mini series, and that includes if you're buying with a significant other, it's the same information. So just start going through that if you're even if you're buying, with your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. um I don't know, just go through that, and really it's just talking to a lawyer in the beginning, and it's
Yeah.
so easy to set up an operating agreement. And they'll ask you questions that will help you make a really good operating agreement.
Yes. I mean, she had to go through all of her texts through their whole relationship. Imagine having to do that after a breakup.
Ah, I guess you
And
kind of
go
do that
through
sometimes anyway. I don't know.
yeah, that's
No?
true. Just us.
Like, I knew he was an
No.
asshole.
Yeah. But she had to like send that to her lawyer to say, this is what, if they had just sat down for a second, even if they had texted it out, honestly, like
Mhm.
you should have an operating agreement. It makes it so much easier. But like, just talk about it. What happens if we break up? What happens?
Yeah.
And honestly, what happens if I die? What happens if you die?
Yes,
Does your
yes.
part go to me or does it go to your mom or your sibling or whatever?
Oh, true. Actually, if there's no operating agreement, does it go automatically? Who does it go to? I don't
I
know.
that is I think it goes to I think the joint tenancy, like the laws in Texas, if you own it with somebody, if you die, it goes to that person that you own it
Okay.
with.
Okay. I think that's
But yeah,
I'm, like, thinking to myself, I'm like, "That's okay for this house."
I know. I just saw something online that was like, if you co-own a business with someone, you should take a life insurance policy out on each other. And I was like, that's scary. Then they're just gonna murder each other.
Aw. Oh my god, so you you just automatically think that?
I
I
was like,
did
no.
li I literally the other day was like, life insurance, like, if you have kids or something, like, it kinda makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that makes sense. Not now, I don't really need that now, but
Well,
yeah,
to
that
that age,
every
yeah.
part of every murder, crime, whatever, it's always the life insurance policy,
Right?
so
But it did make sense. It was like that it would pay buy themselves out of your partner out of the business, whatever, and
mhm.
then give the rest of that money to your family. So
Oh, okay.
anyway, I just think like making plans. We're not advocating life insurance by any means, but just like what we're advocating is just like talking about this before you do
Mhm.
anything, even if it's. I mean, you should put it down on paper, but like it's important.
Yeah, totally. This kinda reminded me of, like a what was that show? Oh my gosh, Love Is Blind. where one of the girls in the recent episodes was like, what was her name? I don't remember, but she was into real estate. She was like really into real estate.
Oh,
This is the Dallas
yes.
one. And she owned
Yes.
property with her ex-boyfriend because they owned property together.
Yep.
And the guy that she was with, like on that show, was like, that's suspicious. I don't like that. Da, 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 da.
Yes.
No,
Bartiz. Yes.
Bartiz. Ugh,
Yes.
true villain on that show.
Yes.
Yeah, he was like, that's, and she was like so mature about it. She was like, what do you mean? We have like agreements, like we're good, like
Yes.
work this out. And he was just like, I don't know. I was like,
Her biggest flaw was that she liked him.
I know, literally, that was her biggest flaw. I was like, you are so, I'm like, want to meet her. I'm like, you are such
So
a,
smart.
I know.
I know.
You're-
I know. I love that. She had rental properties and she was like into it. She was so cool and she was so hot. And he kept on being like, "You're not hot.
yeah,
Wait,
that was,
you're just so hot."
I'm like, you're not hot.
Yeah, go away. But
uh,
yeah, the fact that she just like that was her business partner essentially, which is it is when you think about growing wealth and when you think about each other, like you and I, like we
mm,
are essentially married in business,
yes,
and we've been
yes.
able to grow so much faster because of that. Like
Hmm.
partnership is important for growth and for support. But it is, yeah, it's just it can come with complications. But I think
For sure.
people are yeah we say the story not to scare you away from partnering but more to like get you to do it in a smarter way.
And know that even if, like, it takes work to be in any partnership, a business partnership, a relationship, friendship, it always takes work. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's going to be
Yeah.
hard. Like me and Steph go to a business coach every week. Like every
Yeah.
week we go to a business coach and we talk through stuff, and has been so important. It's like, just like you
It's
go to therapy or couples therapy or whatever, you talk about your friends, you talk about relationships. It's like, if you buy a house with a friend, you can't just be like, set it and forget it. Like, we're good now. No, like, you have to talk about it. You should talk about, like, are you still feeling good about this? Like, oh, I felt like some tension the other day. Or is everything good? Like, you
yes.
you can't set it and forget it. Like, that is not what you can ever do in real estate. I don't think you can, unless, I don't know. Can you? I truly don't think you can. I haven't
No,
experienced
no.
that yet.
Yeah.
So,
Man, it's such a good point. And when you talk about self development, if people are interested in self development, the best development is being in a partnership with someone. And like we've had to really learn how to have hard conversations. We
mhm.
have hard conversations almost not every day. It's fun too, but like also just like we're good at it now. We're professional at we call it out as soon as we hear if we
Mhm.
hear tension, if we feel like there's something wrong. It's a skill and you have to practice skills.
Oh, for sure, and that is not how it started at all. Like, it's
No.
not like we were, like, n it just started, we didn't know what we were doing, so if someone was, like, off one day, we'd be like, "Take it personally," or whatever, but you
Yeah.
always work through it, and, like, that is, I don't know, real estate, it feels like full circle with, like, friendships, partnerships, whatever, like, you always have to be working on that, like,
Yes.
yeah.
And yeah, when been thinking a lot about like the full experience of life and like really getting deep into relationships and like this, I know real estate seems like superficial or like not, but it really does help you to get to know someone so well
Mhm.
and for the better or for worse, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the protection portion of it and the education part of it is so important and that's why we exist as a company.
Exactly, and you do have to give yourself, I don't wanna say grace, but give yourself, be
Grace
kind,
somehow sounds like religious. I don't know
right,
why.
right. Be kind to
Um,
yourself,
yes.
because it's okay if you get into fights, or if you're like, have stressful times, like, that's fine. Even I was like, I went back, I made, like, we're very much on TikTok recently, y'all, if you wanna see, but I was making a TikTok about our office that me and Steph, we have a whole blog if you want. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but Steph and I renovated. That's how we started our companies. We bought and renovated this commercial space. And I was making a TikTok and going through all our videos, and I was like, that was so hard. Like, it seeming like it, I look back, I'm like, oh, that was so amazing. That was so sweet and fun and exciting, but also hard. and we,
All of the above.
yeah, and it was great, and
Yeah.
it was worth it.
So worth it. It's so, so worth it when you do it right.
Mhm.
And we wanna preach that more than anything, but yeah,
We
we
had
started when
no
we were
idea
so
what we were
young.
doing. We had
No idea.
no idea. We
Those
were
photos of us, like, what of you in the field, like the tall field, you look like you're 15.
I know. I know. Oh my gosh,
It's
yeah. It was
amazing. Yeah, and if we probably if we had known how hard it was gonna be, we would have not done it, but
no.
I'm so glad we did, and, like, yeah, no regrets because it was amazing, but you
Mhm.
just, like, you don't know what you don't know, and then you just have to, like, really get in the right communities and be surrounded by the right people so that you
Mhm.
can have the support to be successful.
Exactly. You can choose your hard. This might not be what you wanna choose right now, but,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I feel like kinda really comfortable in my life right now, and sometimes I'm like, I can it's nice to be it's sometimes in chaos, not all the time. I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely had a breaking point, but it feels good. Like, it can feel good to, like, challenge yourself is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So,
There's problems in every field and every aspect, and you just have to choose the ones that you want, and
mhm,
I feel lucky with the ones that we chose.
mhm, I agree. Um,
Oh, we got sentimental.
aw, that's cute. Oh, kicked my printer in awkwardness.
The full human
Uh,
experience
yes.
in through the lens of real estate.
Yes.
But yeah, I do wanna share that, this person in this couple, she gave us permission to share
Yeah.
this, and she wanted everybody to, like, kind of learn from her
Mhm.
from from her experience, and it was amazing that she reached out to say, like, "Hey, I
And she was
want
so
this to be
vulnerable. You, like, met
so
up,
vulnerable." Oh,
and she was, like,
yes.
upset, and you were listening, and it was like, that's our community, like, they feel
Yeah.
comfortable coming to us and, like, talking to us about this stuff, and they know that we're gonna teach other people about this. So, yeah, I'm so thankful to her, that
Ah,
she
yes.
shared this with us and told us to share it with our community. Um,
Yes, yes. The vulnerability is everything, and it was, yeah, really, really cool of her. And yeah, congratulations to her. She literally, I mean, it was probably a month or two ago that she closed, and I think she's moving in soon. So
oh my god, that's
really
amazing.
cool, really
Yeah.
cool. I mean, and talk about houses before spouses and overcoming a lot in real estate and still wanting to be involved and buy a house. It's really cool.
That's actually so true. She wasn't like, "I'm renting." Like,
Yes.
I mean, after that, I might even someone like me who's, like, so into real estate, I might just have been like, "I need, like, some time," but she,
It's
like,
a
went
break.
back into it and bought a house, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so if yeah, I don't know, if y'all are wanting to even, like, talk about real estate at all, like, we feel free to jump on a phone call with us. You can even text us. We have a number that you can always text. Someone will answer your questions. It's was it 512-222-9050. So if you do
Yes. Amazing.
want to chat with us, like, text us. We'll set up a call. Whatever. It's like there's no expectations. We're very chill.
Yes. This is so chill.
So
We
chill.
also
It's fine.
we
We're also
we also
sometimes
have a
not.
chat. Yes, yes, which we make very clear on here.
Chill,
Um,
not chill with real estate. I get very
yeah.
excited.
Yeah. And we have a chat function on our website too, which is new. We're excited about that. We're so
Mhm.
into tech.
Mhm.
And we basically have 3 events per month. So we have our workshop for first time buyers. And then we have our women investor meetup and we have our community meetup. So
Mhm. Always
join
a
us in
chance
some
to talk
capacity.
to us, meet with us and the agents. All of the agents on our team are into creative real estate, partnerships. We've bought properties with them. Like, it's yeah, we're very lucky. It's exciting.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
Yeah.
else?
No, this is our first video podcast. We'll see how it goes.
First back. I know. Okay.
Yay!
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay. Bye.